Um, in the meantime, you probably all saw that Martin has arrived. I hope that the vote went well, but you might be able to say a few words about that. I think we can go on with you, Martin. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Dare I stand up? I might fall over backwards at any moment, but I want to be able to see all of you. Yes, I'm afraid I can't announce that the third runway has been abandoned, much as I'd like to be able to. In fact, I never even got the chance. I was going to vote against the government motion on the third runway, and it never even came up, which was a great disappointment to me. Believe you me, I'm against Heathrow expansion. I am very pleased that they have dropped the idea of all-day flights over Wandsworth, which is the most direct threat to us, because we live, all the people in this room I imagine live, either under the flight paths to the northern runway or the flight paths to the southern runway. We're the ones who get the noise all the time, and at least that's not going to increase. But of course, something that doesn't increase, you don't notice, you're glad it didn't come, it's a relief, but it's not a bonus. What would have been a bonus, of course, if they'd taken the decision that they should have taken years ago to start not expanding Heathrow, but scaling it down. I think it's always been an airport in the wrong place, and I shall regret to my dying day I didn't get a chance to vote on the government motion tonight. Anyway, tonight is about Clapham Junction redevelopment, and I try not to take too much time because it's easy to get bogged down in the details of this. I'm against, I don't want tall buildings in Clapham Junction, and I think these buildings are monstrously tall. I'm sure you've all seen this picture of ours. We'd expand it even more if we could, but you see here the Falcon pub with this monstrous building coming out of the top of it. I don't like tower blocks anyway. I don't like the tower blocks we have on the Winstanley estate, but most of them are 10 or 11 stories, and the tallest I think is 23 stories. This building, these buildings would be double, twice that height. If we're going to have luxury flats, luxury housing, then we should balance that with affordable housing. We have plenty of developments along the river where a quarter or a third or a half of the flats are affordable because it's been insisted that developers should provide affordable housing. In this case, they're offering no affordable housing at all. Now, like most of you, of course, I want the improvements to Clapham Junction Station. It is a disgrace as a station. That's not only me saying that. It's the chief executive of South West Trains, who run the station, has used those very words to me. Since he said that, there have been a few improvements. Most of all, we're getting lifts, and the entrance to at the top of St Johns Hill, the so-called Brighton Yard entrance, is being reopened, probably sometime this summer, certainly this year. You've probably seen the lift shafts have already gone in. But that's being paid for directly by the government. We have various other changes at the station. We have a few more British Transport Police now. I'm glad to say that we have, as well as South West Trains have their own travel safe officers. And the place is a bit safer than it once was. I won't say it's completely safe, but it's certainly improved in that respect. But to my mind, there's a lot still to be done. The tunnel is seriously overcrowded. The ticket hall and indeed the whole station can get completely clogged up. And it's dingy, and it's dirty, and it's often full of litter. Now, the developers claim that they are going to spend 49 million on station improvements. That's mainly providing new entrances on St Johns Hill and Grant Road, with escalators and lifts going up to the overbridge, and then blocking up the existing tunnel entrances so that the tunnel can only be used by people changing from one platform to another, not by people getting on and off at Clapham Junction. And it's also to straighten up platforms 15 to 17, which to reduce the gap, which currently means that a lot of elderly people, a lot of people with restricted mobility won't even use those platforms. Now, some people may actually think they're blocking up the tunnel entrance and forcing us all to go up on the escalators to the overbridge and then down to the platforms. It's not actually a benefit. However, this was not actually the developer's idea. This was Network Rail and Transport for London got together and decided that the problems with Clapham Junction Station could not be solved as long as the tunnel was the main way in and out. And so they actually asked the developers to base their scheme on building a new entrance straight onto the overbridge so that passengers would come down from the overbridge and would be spread more evenly along the platform. And obviously the overbridge is much wider than the tunnel. The tunnel can't be widened for all sorts of reasons. So there we have it. That's the development. 2 42-storey tower blocks, and of course a new shopping mall, rather like the station approach, but in a different direction. And £49 million spent on station improvements. Now, a lot of people have been asking, what will happen to these station improvements if the developers don't get planning permission, which I hope they don't, or if they run out of money and can't actually go ahead with the scheme, which must be a distinct possibility in the current climate in the world of developers. So I've asked Network Rail today, and it seems that they have £22 million in their 5-year capital programme for Clapham Junction Station, but that 20 million is actually earmarked for platform lengthening and straightening, and 2 million for what they call cosmetic improvements, which are painting, seating, lighting, and that kind of thing. But there is no money in the current 5-year programme for new entrances or for anything else. So that, Network Rail did put in for some money to redevelop the Brighton Yard as a new entrance, but they didn't get that money. If they apply for it again, then the earliest it would come would be at the end of this current 5-year period. Obviously, this 5-year period is 2009 to 14, so you can work out that it would be somewhere down the line. The lifts, obviously, are independent of this, and people with heavy luggage, buggies, bicycles, wheelchairs, sticks, anything like that, will be able to benefit from them from some time later this year, regardless of whether this development goes ahead. So the new entrance in the Brighton Yard and the lifts are independent of this whole issue of the development. But new entrances with escalators going up to the overbridge and straightening out of platforms 15 to 17 are dependent on the development going ahead, or at least if the development doesn't go ahead, they couldn't start earlier than about 2015. So that's the kind of difficult situation we're in. To my mind, it's a kind of emotional blackmail. You've got a lousy station there. We'll pay some money to improve the station on condition that you accept these 2 monstrous 42-storey tower blocks. And I just quote some of the descriptions that what does CABE stand for? Is it Council for I'm sure there are a lot of architects here. Commission for Architecture of the Built Environment, an organisation of which I've always been very suspicious because they often do support schemes that I think are appalling. Some of the ones along the riverside, which I've opposed over the years, have been supported by CABE. But they have some wonderful descriptions of the 2 tower blocks here. Inelegant is the most complimentary one. Unnecessarily complex, a poor architectural concept, will appear ungainly, an inelegant silhouette, intended to echo skyscrapers such as the Chrysler building. That's a new one, I mean. But anyway, they end up saying, the polite way of saying, no, they don't like them. Further work to re-evaluate the heights of the tall buildings proposed. They end up, we are unable to offer our support for the planning submission in its current form. Well, I'm sure that will be echoed widely here. I don't know if there are any residents of Clapham Junction who actually want Clapham Junction to look as it does in this picture. certainly nobody here. And but in order to achieve this, the refusal of planning permission, I think what we have to do is clearly we have to demonstrate to the councillors who sit on the committee that there is a huge majority of opinion in the area that is against these tall buildings. We have already we have a petition. We have on our newsletters. We have a petition that we've had at meetings. We've had surveys. We've had lots of emails and letters. I think 93 emails and letters. We've had a total of 341 indications of one kind or another against the redevelopment. We've had 4 emails or letters in favour of the proposal. There may be more people who support it than that, I don't know. But what is important from our point of view is to make sure that all of the people who do oppose it will write letters to the chairman of the Planning Applications Committee to make sure that when they consider it in March, they are fully cognizant of the degree of opposition in the local area. In the case of the Young's Brewery down in Wandsworth, most of the responses, great majority were against. The Wandsworth Society was against. CABE was against. The English Heritage was against. But the councillors voted in favour. Why did they vote in favour? Because there wasn't a sufficient number of people writing in or lobbying their councillors to tell them that they were against. What's the lesson of that? We must make sure that in this area, the great majority of people really do write those letters to the chairman of the Planning Applications Committee or to their local councillor, so that when the decision is taken, they are left in absolutely no doubt about the strength and the extent of the opposition. And I don't know if Linton can tell me, do we have the letters that everybody can write a letter, but if anybody wants to say you have to write the address, we have some letters here with the address written on, and a little picture of the tower block there, just in case they want to be reminded, and instructions about how to get it there. So I hope everybody who hasn't already written will take one of these letters. I mean, it's just a dear councillor McDonald, and you write the rest, and make sure that they send it. The decision will be taken in March, almost certainly. Any letter that arrives with Councillor McDonald or one of the other councillors before then will be taken into consideration. They are the only people who can stop it at this stage, other than the mayor. But if we can also have a discussion about what happens if we don't win this campaign. But as far as I'm concerned, we should focus simply on the fact that we do need to persuade the councillors on that committee to vote against in March. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin.